everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business and Sales with Kriston Sellier. Kriston, it's great to connect with you. I hope we're going to talk about Think Community, a lot of marketing stuff today, which I'd love to talk. You're the president of IDAgency.com, and you've been doing it for 25 years, and it's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much. So if somebody were to go to your website, agency.com, one of the first things that they will see is research-driven branding. And so let's talk about that, right? And because I think data is so important, but so is instincts. There is an old story, I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard it multiple times, that Sam Walton would be in a boardroom and they would give him data. And he would say, this data is great, but as he looked around the room, he realized nobody actually shopped at Walmart. So he would take the data, go to the coffee shop, see what was important to his customers, then go back to the boardroom and say, this is the data that matters. This is the data that's going to drive business. And this is the data that's not. So let's focus on this. And I think a lot of times people don't focus on what they need to, which is research that is, and then understanding what to actually do with that research and overlay. That's why I'm a big believer that people need marketing and branding companies to ask them the questions and give them insights into the slivers and nuances on how to grow their business in this ever-changing daily environment that we're in. So let's go back to kind of research-driven. What does that mean?
Research-driven is a combination of qualitative and quantitative research. And what we have found is that, kind of like Sam Walton, it doesn't really matter. It's not what all the leadership say the brand stands for. Those are the people who drank the Kool-Aid. So right. It's a part of the measurement, but it is not the measurement. What's important to understand is the customer sentiment, their experience, how they see the brand. Also talking to stakeholders and employees that have been with the company for a long time or are relatively new. When we're working with public entities, it's the same thing, but we're looking at businesses, visitors, residents, and really understanding of all of those parts, and then doing the analysis of the data together to come back with what the true results are.
Let's talk about client experience today, because it seems to be ever changing. We can go through a timeline, but right now there's, the experience of buying things on TikTok shopping. There is the experience of, how Amazon continually makes it easier and easier and easier. The experience of when you walk into anywhere. What do clients want today? What is the experience? I know it seems to be fast and quick, but I think there's more than that. Like there seems to be, emotional connection, like all of that. What is the ideal client experience today?
People want to be seen and they want to be heard. And if brands aren't doing that for their customers, they're not going to be able to keep them.
Yeah.
And, that's the core, whether it's a digital experience or a brick and mortar experience, that's what customers want. They want to be the hero of the story.
Yeah. Kriston, what's the shelf life of a client today? It used to be we could forecast out kind of, this is what it costs to get a client. This is the lifetime value of a client. The shelf life seems to be very fickle today.
It depends on the brand, and it's really an intentional thought. So we have a customer who sells Mason bottles. It's a bottle that's used for baby bottles.
Oh,
yes, like this.
I drink out of every day. It's it's the best. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So we noticed a cliff of clients leaving after 4 months. And we said our pitch was the 7-year promise to take this Mason jar, this Mason bottle from pre-birth to 7 years old of each child and extend that. But it's an intentional plan for the brand to do that. And it's hard. It's easy to get a new client, right? It's hard to keep them. I think Steve Jobs even said, a lot of companies build a business and sell it in 5 years. That's not a business.
Yeah.
The business is really the ones that stick with it and they work hard and they innovate over and over again and they focus on delivering quality work.
Yeah. Let's talk about intention for a little bit, because I think a lot of times people will say, oh, our intention is we want to kind of take a deep dive into the consumer, and let's all meet in the conference room and let's hash this out for an hour. But if we're really talking about intention, there is it takes time, it takes thought, reverse engineering. So walk the Think community through kind of, the continuum of how you work with a client to open up that space. So I always find as a business coach, and when I talk to marketing and branding people, I feel like we're the same in this way. We put people into a space that they can't get to on their own with the questions that we ask. And this is a really important space. And then we create the plan, and then we take them out of that space with an actionable plan that they would not have done prior to, because they're not specifically, not that they couldn't do it on their own, but they won't take the time to really sit in the space that is needed for the time that it takes to walk through it. So can you kind of walk through the continuum of how you work with clients?
It's a long process.
Yeah.
It's a 3-year program is how we see it, because humans take about 18 months to change their mind. And so that's just a mindset shift. That's 18 months.
Wait,
Then
18 months to change. Let's just unpack that for a minute, because we know it actually takes longer than 21 days to build a habit. But let's just say, for the sake of popular, what we all know is 21 days to build a habit. To change your mind, 18 months to change your mind?
For a brand to a customer, yes.
So how many visuals of that brand, or how many touch points of that brand? Like, what does that look like?
I have seen about 17 times someone needs to see a logo just to remember it. And that is a logo in the same color, in the same style, in the same font, on the same background, to remember that brand. So that's number one. Now, if the brand is changing and they're going through a rebranding, now, not only do they have to remember it, now they have to remember what now you stand for. And so that's repeated, consistent, personalized communications on multiple channels over 18 months. It takes time.
18 months to change your mind. That is really unbelievable. And
it's like clockwork, that 18 months.
Yeah.
I see it happen all the time. You see the analytics changing, you see data benchmarking. We have so much proof. We actually were talking about a LinkedIn campaign this morning around changing thought leadership from one founder to the next. And it's 18 months, and we are starting to see, literally, our analytics are saying the thought leadership is pivoting from this leader to the other. And we're like, yes, 18 months. Exactly. It's crazy.
It's funny as you say that, I won't bore you with all the details, but when I'm a business coach, but when I was in commercial real estate, I was a broker for 6 years. And then I took over my office and ran it for 6 years. And as I'm just kind of thinking, and the person I took over for, everybody loved, and they had a different job. And I'm going to say it was about 18 months before it was fully kind of like, everyone was like, okay, we've changed our, like, we're on board now. I mean, it was a cycle.
It takes time. And a lot of people think that, hey, we're just going to change our logo and this is the way we're going, and hey, everybody follow us. And it's a very simple process, but it's persistent and disciplined. So if you think about just training for a marathon, if you want to go out and run 26 miles, you're not going to do it tomorrow. There's 6 months to train to be able to do that. And then you actually have to run the race. And it's not training once a week or, 7 times a week and then skipping 2 weeks. It's regimented. So you're running 5 to 6 times a week, every week throughout that time period. It's the same way with changing someone's mind with a brand. It's a persistent, consistent, regimented process of delivering communication on, this is who we were, this is who we are now, and this is why we're doing it. And it has to be coupled with communications around, this is the benefit to you, customer. This is how it's going to benefit you. This is how it's going to help you. And we were thinking about you when we did this. And if it's not, they're not going to listen to it.
This is my new favorite stat. So I just want to kind of talk about this some more, because a lot of times I teach a lot of salespeople, a lot of managers, a lot of leaders, owners, executives, etc. But when I'm quantifying for salespeople, I talk about, the continuum. I don't want to bore with details, but I talk about, takes 17 calls. It takes 17 messages. It takes 50 views of your social media. It takes this. And it could take up to 1 month to 3 years. And a lot of times they get frustrated with that. But then all of a sudden, I was talking to a client the other day. They said, I've been chasing someone for 2 years about X products. They kept on saying no. And then all of a sudden they said yes. But it's been, to your point, about 18, 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
So what types of things I know I want to continue your continuum, but what types of things within that 18 months does somebody need to do? Are they doing videos? Are they doing podcasts? Are they doing their own? Are they a guest? Are they blogging? Are they commenting on posts? Are they doing TikTok, Instagram, choosing 1 or 2 social platforms? What are they doing to get exposure for 18 months?
So number one, it's strategic based on who your audience is. So brands must know who their audience segments are. And then the communication strategy is built around where your customers are spending their time.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're existing customers, you may have an email database. So you'd be sending emails to them at least twice a month. If they're existing customers, they may be following your social channels. So you may be doing some organic social, depending on if it's B2B within LinkedIn. And so you're really targeting all of the communication in those channels. I still believe in the written word. So even mailing things to some of your customers, it just depends on what they're engaging with. And then the whole strategy is built around that. So all the channels you said may work as long as the customers, the prospects, the people they're trying to reach are in those locations. And so we all know LinkedIn is the place where business decision makers are on. So if you're doing B2B business, LinkedIn is typically one of the channels, and it's more of an organic, and it comes from people, not from the business. So that's something that we've noticed a lot in the last year, is that people engage with other people. And it seemed before that a lot of strategies were geared around the brand communicating messages out to people, but it was just like not resonating. When the thought leadership comes directly from a person within that brand, it is much more engaging to people because, we're all humans. We're going to engage with humans, not a logo.
Yeah.
So it's, being just strategic about reaching the audiences where they are.
Yeah. It's funny. I was on social this morning and I wear a lot of Viore. And if you're familiar with the brand, and it was the owner. He's like, "Hey, I'm the owner of Viore, and we just came up with these new dress pants, and da 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 da." I thought, "Oh, the owner's talking about it. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a pair of those." But I wouldn't have if I just saw them as a post.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not we're engaging with someone with 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth, right? Not with a logo, whatever logo it is. Even if it has a happy face in it, like the Amazon logo, we don't engage. We aren't talking about that post from,
Right.
a company.
Yeah. So would Amazon make more money if Jeff Bezos was out there with his face marketing certain things?
I don't know. I probably didn't use a good example with Amazon because they're just so big. They're such a gorilla now.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, do you remember his very beginning signs? He had a white poster with like the word Amazon on the back. I was building websites at that time, and eBay was taking off, and Amazon was just a baby and really was struggling. He worked hard to build that to where it is today. It wasn't an overnight success. That was a long, long progressive work. And from what I've heard, I listened to this Founders podcast, and they were talking about
how he really, podcast.
Oh, you love that? He focused on innovation, innovation all the time, building new things, thinking about new things. And I think that's probably their recipe for success, was that what he brought to the table.
So a couple things. So David Senra is my Founders is my favorite podcast. And he also has a new podcast, if you're familiar with David Senra, where he interviews living people. So he just interviewed the guy from, what is it, Raising Cane's. He just interviewed the guy.
Oh, he did the Raising Cane's guy. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Raising Cane's. Sorry. Spotify, Brad Jacobs, who's one of my favorite. Brad Jacobs, he wrote this book, How to Make a Few Billion. And one of the things that he talks about is a book called, one of the books that he talks about that Jeff Bezos handed out to everybody was Sam Walton's book that he wrote. And also a book called, I actually have it right here because I'm reading it. This book is talked about on Founders all the time as a book that all of these billionaire founders have read. It's called Hardball. But it is hands down the best podcast I ever made. Yeah, I want David Setter on my show.
He's amazing. I mean, the amount of work that he does, and a lot of the stuff that he brings isn't in books. Like he's pouring through information to bring that podcast to you. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Have you listened to the Michelin Brothers one?
Yes, I just did. I love it. I had no idea about the Michelin star story and how they did it all.
Isn't that crazy?
To drive.
Isn't that crazy? They just wanted to get people using the tires more. Yeah. And they were brilliant marketers. The Michelin Brothers were brilliant marketers when they didn't have anybody they had no pace horse in front of them to know what marketing even was, really.
Yeah, they were about tire usage.
Yeah.
I don't think that most people relate Michelin tires with Michelin stars. I don't think they think they're even the same entity.
No, they don't. Well, one's like a dirty tire on the street, and one's a Michelin star fancy restaurant. Yeah. All right. So let's get back to your continuum. So we talked about intention, understanding that it takes 18 months to change somebody's mind. A lot of times the way I articulate that too is you have to build mind share in order to build market share. And I think that's a lot what you're talking about. It takes 18 months to build mind share, but then you got to bring value, true value, like you're talking about, that is meaningful to this client over 18 months. What I'd like to talk about and how you come in and guide people is, so you have 18 months. So let's just say, for the sake of discussion, it's January 1st, 2026. 18 months from now will be essentially July 2027. We have AI and everything that falls under that umbrella. So 18 months out is a lot happening to the world, where to keep somebody engaged and any other platform that they may be on or off, I just want to kind of talk about that. Like, I know you've mentioned today it's about strategy and curated and customized to the audience and where they are, but marketing seems harder today than it ever has been before because of the different platforms. You can't just get somebody on Channel 7 after they've watched X show. How do you do it?
We have it broken up into 3 years. So year one is alignment. If you think about this, think about a car. It's alignment, getting your tires on straight. So we're spending that first year doing the research up front, positioning and messaging for the brand, doing the rebrand itself, the visual, the logo, the icon, the fonts, the colors, coming up with the brand standards. We're writing the change communication strategy. And we're beginning to build out all the guidelines for how you utilize the brand. And so that first year is geared to start the research and then end with, this is how we're going to be going to market with this. This is how we're going to be communicating this to all of our internal team first. Year two then is really about acceleration. Now you've got the car in alignment. Now you're going to start pressing the pedal on the gas. And in year two, that's what people really want to do in year one. And so we have to really, and this is hard because they're like, we want new social media. We want a new website. We want all these new marketing pieces. And we say, you have to wait though. You've got the cart before the horse. If we don't know who you are, we don't know the truth, and we don't have data to back that up, we can't build all of these things. They're not going to work. You have to trust the process. And this process helps customers bring in 22% more revenue. It helps them increase their organic leads by over 200%. It helps customers reach those investment marks they need to over year 1, 2, and 3, so that there is a success in there. But like I said, this isn't the magic button game. This is putting the work in, trusting the experts, and moving forward. And then after you're done with year 2, you have all of your marketing. Everything's in place. It's working. It's out in the marketplace. That's when in that year 2, when you start seeing it all come back, you're like, oh yeah, people are saying now, they're asking me for what I've been telling them I'm giving. And then the last year is really all about momentum. Now you're up 65, 75, depending on what, is the legal limit for driving. And now it's all about incremental improvements. So you have all of your channels set up. Now you're looking at your analytics, you're looking at your results, and you're making that incremental improvements. Just like the Atomic Habits book, if you've read that.
It's my favorite book. Yeah.
Okay. Those 1% improvements, that's what we're looking at that point. And then you can really go off on your own and execute and move on. And our clients graduate from us. So throughout that entire process, you're not only mindset shift in the first 18 months, now it's action shift in the last 18 months. And now we really get to hand that off to our customers to now go and build with it. It's a pretty phenomenal process, and the results are great.
Well, the process seems great. Just a comment. James Clear, Atomic Habits should be mandatory reading for everybody. It's a great book. I paid my kids to read the book. I pay my kids to read books, and I want them to read. I started that during COVID. And his masterclass on masterclass.com is also really great. If you haven't seen it, it's great. I want to talk about, their step 3 of this 3-year process. Year 3 is what they want to do in step 1. As we're recording this at the end of 2025, I'm kind of reminded of this article, actually, I read, I think it was in 2008 in the Atlantic, and it was called Is Google Making Us Stupid? And the book was about technology back in 2008, that it was changing our brains. It was changing our brains from delayed gratification to instant gratification. Fast forward now, end of 2025, we're recording this. It's got to be really hard for somebody who wants in year 1 what you're giving them at the beginning of year 3. And so how do you work with your clients to slow down and understand the power of delayed gratification, process, and being meticulous in doing things versus rushing it in what I'll call an ad hoc 3 to 7 hour meeting done over the course of a year on their own?
It's not for everybody. So these are customers that have been in business for a while. Let's say they're 7 years, 10 years, 40 years. Our customers are established brands and they're successful. They're successful at what they do. They may not have a brand that actually speaks the truth. So their history and their legacy speaks to their ability to stick with something and be persistent. It's difficult. And so a lot of times we're only talking about year 1. We're only talking about alignment, because we've got to prove ourselves, number 1. And number 2, they've got to start seeing the value of the work that we're doing. But that foundational work, the research, the benchmarking, building out the brand, taking what they're all so close to their brand, it's really hard for them to see it. Yeah. Because they're caught up in the details and the minutia. And there's things that this company is doing that are so special. And the problem is they need that third party to come and look at them and be able to reveal it. And here's what happens a lot of times. Sometimes they've been trying to make this decision for 5 years. Yeah. Sometimes when we have that conversation with them after we do the research and we do all of our analysis and creative brainstorming, come up with who they are, their heads are nodding. They've all thought it, but they haven't been able to come back and actually deliver on it. And that's where we can come in as advisors and really help them solidify and get their heads shaking and get them moving together. And then here's the thing. It's not just like, here you go, run with it. There is a process for delivering this successfully, and it starts internally. You're delivering all this brand work. You're getting input from your team. You're getting input from your customers. And the first receivers are the people that you work with. Those are your biggest brand ambassadors, not your customers. It's the people that you are going to battle with every day.
I love it. That's so great. As a business coach, like you shared, sometimes I go in and they say, oh my God, sometimes I say to them, hey, some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, 80% of it, you're going to tell me you've thought of. And so when I'm speaking, and sometimes what I say to my clients, I give them this riddle and I say, and I'll do it like when I'm doing a talk or a keynote or workshops or one-on-one, small groups. 5 frogs are sitting on a log. 4 frogs decide to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? And I would say 95% of the people all say, I do by show of hands, they say, well, 1. But the answer is 5, because they decided, but they didn't take action. They didn't actually do it. And to your point, there is this element of a lot of people sitting around talking, but not taking action. And And yet there's also a large group of people that are sitting around talking, not leaving with actionable items, not taking action, and not calling companies like yours. And so I call those people, they're stuck. They're in their own way. They want to grow, but they're not doing anything to really invest in themselves. How do you sell your services to that client, assuming they're your ideal client, right? Again, you're not going to chase them, but so they can understand kind of what you can do for them. Do you market? You know, do you have a way of selling that takes 18 months for people to change their, how are you doing it? How are you selling your brand, your services, your company?
Gosh, I don't sell. I would have to say that I don't sell it. I educate them. I give them information to make good decisions, and I deliver value to them in that meeting, because I don't know the answers yet at the beginning. I only, like you said at the very beginning, I just know the questions to ask right now.
Correct.
And that's all, but I can tell them that this is the process, and this is what we've done for other customers, and this is how long it takes, and this is what happens during that time period, and this is the benefit to you. And so I do spend a lot of time listening to them, and I'm not an aggressive salesperson. I'm probably an anti-salesperson, but I believe in them. And so number one, I have to believe in the brand that I'm going to work with.
Yeah.
But I can see the potential, and I have this ability to, it's like when you walk into a house and it just is ugly because they've put up terrible wallpaper and they have bad faucets and they just had really bad taste. I can see the beauty underneath it.
Yeah.
And so when I'm talking to people and I'm looking at the P&L, they're talking to me about business and they're talking to me about what they do. And I'm like, this is amazing. You are so blessed because you already are doing all of these things well. It's your brand that's holding you back. It doesn't align with what you're delivering. And that is exciting to me.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes there's operational changes. Sometimes their product is bad. We can't fix that. What we can do that's like lipstick on a pig. Yeah. But when they are moving and grooving and they just want to go faster and they want to be better and they want to maybe increase their rates or make more money or they want to sell in 5 years, that's when I get really excited. So I think maybe when I tell stories and show them what we've done for other customers, I think they get excited and they understand. And that long-term business person is more likely to understand that this takes time, because they've probably been down that road before and tried to press the easy button and it didn't work.
Yeah. So I'm really glad you answered it that way, because I'm a big fan of selling is asking questions, not telling. And selling is telling stories through clients' eyes so they can put themselves in the story, and being an active listener. You and I are on the same page as far as what that is all about. And if you listen and ask questions in the community, we talk a lot about this on the podcast. And for those of you who know me, asking questions, simple questions, goes a long way. And listening, and then they kind of close themselves if they're your ideal client, if they're your ideal client. And so I think that's great. I want to talk a little bit about how, you've been doing this for 25 years. And so how did you kind of fall into it? How did you, start? How did you take action? Because I'm a big believer. I actually sent something to my daughter, and this morning, she's a sophomore in college, and I think kids today are always, even my son was this way, graduated, my daughter, all these kids I know, everybody's so worried about finding their job in college. And I was never worried about that. My generation, we didn't stress like the current generations. But I said, Sarah Blakely posted something on LinkedIn, and I sent it to her, and it says, if it's your calling, it will keep calling. And so how did you know with your gifts that you shared earlier that this was your calling?
Well, I got my degree in graphic design, and I thought, I grew up on a farm. My sister and I are the first ones to graduate from college, go to college and graduate in our family. And I thought if you get a college degree, you have a job, right? My first job at Check Free, the marketing leader came in one day and said, you guys we're letting go of everybody. That was my first job. I was like, oh my gosh, we're losing our job. Yeah, then I got a job at IBM, and it was fabulous. Like, I can only just say wonderful things about my experience at IBM. The people, the methodology, the thinking, fabulous. And so I took a voluntary severance and left. Another woman wanted me to join her business. And so I was like, this is perfect. I'll take the voluntary severance. I'll join this other firm called Bright Impact. Judy and Lisa brought me in and they said, we're going to pay you this. And after 2 months, they weren't paying me this. And I said, hey, you're not paying me this. And the next day they drew up legal paperwork and said, you never worked here. You need to leave the premises. And so I had no job, no severance. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I had remembered back to college that I always wanted to have like a 3 to 5 person small agency. And, maybe I could give it a go. Don't have anything to lose, right?
Right.
And so I worked to find a job, and then I worked on that. And I asked God to open the doors for me. And so I'm a believer in God and that if you pray and read the Bible and, all that, like things are going to open. And I said, if I could make $35,000 a year, I wouldn't work for anybody else. So I'm like, I can live beneath my means, a used car. I'd thrift my clothes, all that stuff. So that was in April. By December, I had brought in $90,000 and I thought, well, maybe this is something I can do. And I had job offers, but they were all moving and I was married and didn't want to move. So that's how it started. So I incorporated as an S Corp January 1st of the following year. That would be January 1st, 2001. I operated as a sole proprietor that first year and then, just started to build from there.
Great. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. That's 25 years in business. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. And you're guiding people to these processes. Just kind of like maybe as a quick overview, how long did it take you to find your formula? Like you talked earlier, it's so succinct, as far as here's the process, we have alignment, accelerate. How long did it take you to find that formula where you realized, hey, this is clicking with the audience that I want to work with and click with?
It's an evolution. That particular process with that naming was in 2020.
Yeah.
So we worked in 2006. I hired a business consultant and she helped me see our process was different because I thought everybody did it this way. And she said, no, not everybody does it that way. You need to talk about what you're doing. And so we had a version of it, but it was really, for small business. And as we grew and we wanted to reach mid-market, we knew we needed to expand our process. And so it was a constant evolution. And so in 2020, that's when we really started using that. And we started to see those successes. And we just doubled down in 2017, doubled down on branding, and then doubled in 2020, doubled down on research and benchmarking. So now we have all these great success stories.
Tell everybody, it's a great story. I appreciated everything you said in your story and examples. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and where they can connect with you.
Oh, I love to work with mid-market manufacturing leaders, and they are planning to sell their company. They're in between 7 and 22 million, and they may have been in business for a while, and they just really haven't ever done marketing. They're just worked on word of mouth. I love working with you. If that's you, those are our best clients.
Okay.
You can find me at ideateagency.com. And I would be happy for you to fill out our form and reach out and schedule a business consultation, which I do for free.
That's great. All right, quick speed round. You mentioned Atomic Habits. We talked about Founders of the Podcast, but what's another book that's had a big impact on you?
Oh, The Invisible. Oh gosh, like Harry Beckwith, the Selling the Invisible.
Selling the Invisible. Yeah, that book's great. Yeah, I love that book.
The E-Myth was profound. Yeah.
Every business owner, I think, should read the E-Myth. And if you're selling any professional service, Selling the Invisible is so great because it just, that's such a, I love that book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
It's not about falling down. It's getting back up.
Yeah. Finishes
over and over and over again. So we're going to make mistakes. It's okay. You can make another decision and just get back up.
Yeah, I agree. Last question, finish a sentence. One thing everybody can do today to grow their business and their marketing with a little bit more intention is?
Call a branding company and ask them to analyze your brand.
Yeah.
Get a real audit from someone who's not in your inner circle, a professional.
Yeah.
It is an intangible competitive advantage that, so I would say 80% of businesses don't even look at.
Yeah. One more question.
Mm-hmm.
How are you using AI in your business?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I'm on it all the time. I use Perplexity. Perplexity is not a large language model. It is a deep research model. And obviously we are in research. So we do a lot of research. I love Perplexity. I use it all the time. That's my favorite because it can analyze a lot of information very quickly. So I can take all of our analytics reports and write prompts for Habit to analyze our analytics reports and insights and recommendations and executive summaries. So, all those charts that we need to look at and understand from all of your different channels, it can analyze that data. And that's a great use of AI from my perspective to turn those things into jargon-free information so people understand what it actually means.
Great. Kriston, can't thank you enough. This was great. This was like a mini master's class on perseverance, the universe kind of guiding you to start your business along your, sometimes we think things are happening to us that's are kind of bad, but they end up actually being great guidance. And so I'm glad you got fired so you could start this company and, fast forward 25 years. Think community, we talked about a lot today. Kriston talked about a lot, the importance of delayed gratification versus instant gratification and following a process, having intention and having resources. When you can't see the forest through the trees, I always get that wrong. So I think I got it right. It's time to ask somebody, because in today's world, if you're just 1% off, it can mean a lot of dollars. It can mean a lot of mistakes. It can be a lot of years. I want to leave everybody with this, that Kriston shared what my new statistic is and piece of data, which is it takes 18 months to change somebody's mind. If you're in sales, that means persevering and following up for 18 plus months. If you're in leadership and in a new role, that means you have to have a business plan per person and per department and per leader on how to move everybody in your direction. If you're a leader, it means looking at the big picture, C-level exec, looking at the big picture of the business, the brand, where you're going, and then working backwards from there. You can reach Kriston at, what is it? Give me your website one more time.
id8agency.com.
If she can help you, really think about reaching out to her. If I can help you with any business coaching, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Kriston, this was great. Thanks for everything. And thanks for the 18-month piece of data. That was great.
You got it, John. Thanks for having me.